Welcome. In front of me is a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and today I'll show you a couple of tweaks and tricks you can do on this phone. So, to get started, let's navigate into the settings. And I'm gonna go down the list first of the settings and then also touch upon some other ones outside of the settings. So let's start off with sounds and vibration, and then scroll down to sound quality and effects, and select allow, and here we have adapt sound. This is a pretty nice option that tries to improve the quality of whatever you're listening to, earbuds or headphones that are connected to the device. So it tries to basically compensate for hearing loss that you develop over the age. And you have age ranges here. Now the best way here would be to use the last one, which would start to play a series of different sounds either from left or right ear, and all you need to do is just select if you can hear it or not. You do need to have a sound controlled room for this, as for instance trying to test it out outside in like traffic, you won't hear anything. So make sure you do it, for instance, in your house when it's quiet. Go through it, and by going through this test it will then boost up certain frequencies that, for instance, you didn't hear, which outside of just compensating for your hearing loss, it also possibly compensates for crappier earbuds or headphones that might not be as good at reproducing specific sounds, which even if you don't have any kind of hearing loss, this would kind of improve the sound a little bit. Now keep in mind, you do need to have some kind of headphones or earbuds connected for this to even be able to do this, because when you don't have anything connected, you can't really change anything here. Now, moving on, let's go into the display, and here we have the light and the dark mode. You can switch between whichever one you want. If I remember correctly, this is showing up throughout the setup process, but what you also have here is the dark mode settings, which allows you to have it set either from sunset to sunrise or on a custom schedule, meaning the device will be swapping between these two modes automatically. Now, a little bit further down, we have things like the motion smoothness. We have adaptive and standard. Standard is 60, adaptive is up to 120. Now, because this is an LTPO OLED display, the display refresh rate goes below 60 right here with the adaptive, so it tries to give you better battery life by cutting down on frames being shown per second when there is no need for the phone to display, for instance, 120 frames like right now. There's nothing moving. You could put a literal still image, 1 frame per minute, and as long as I don't move it, I wouldn't even be able to know that there is like no refresh rate here. So the moment you start to move your screen, it would automatically snap back to 120 to give you that nice smooth motion. Now, for people that don't really see much of a difference between this and this, it might be better for your battery life to actually stick with this one, the 60 or standard. But personally, I think the smooth one or adaptive looks better. I do see a difference. Now next we have the eye comfort shield. These are just kind of like yellowish tones, so the device might be a little bit easier to use during the night time. And if I am correct, this is going to try to use the selfie camera. Keep your eye comfort by limiting blue light and using warm colors. Okay, so this one is not using camera. But this one is. So the other one here uses the camera to try to give you color temperature of the display based on the environment. So for instance, if you're in your house and you have a lot of warm lights turned on, it will use the camera to see that, and it will try to adapt that warmth of the lights. So whatever would be white, or whatever is white for those lights, and how, for instance, if you have a piece of paper with those lights, it would look obviously a little bit warmer with such lights around, and that's what the phone will mimic as well. Now lastly, in here we also have the screen mode. We have vivid and natural. Now Samsung does, or did more like, have a very oversaturated display in my opinion, but in recent times they actually toned it way the heck down. So this is much more manageable, and there's not much of a difference between the vivid and natural. Natural will try to be a little bit more realistic compared to the Vivid. Vivid is going to give a little bit brighter, more vibrant colors. This is completely preferential, and it's up to you which one you want to select. I normally use natural, as this is just what I prefer myself, specifically even on the older devices, which the Vivid mode there was just absolutely cooked. But here, honestly, if Vivid would be the only option, I wouldn't have much of a problem with it. Now, scrolling a little bit further down here, we also have the screen resolution. So this device supports 1440p resolution, which you can see right here, Quad HD+, but by default it is actually just in Full HD, and that goes for all the new Samsung S25s along with the previous lineups as well. This is done to preserve battery life, but if you want to utilize that full resolution of your display, you just select your 1440p resolution right here, and there you go. Now it's going to have a high resolution, which means images and just generally the display will look sharper. After all, you paid for the whole damn display, you might as well use the whole display. Next here we have the Edge panel, which is this thing right here, barely visible, so I swipe it out. There we go, we can see it right now. You can customize how this is going to show up, so if we click on it, we can select handle, and here we can choose the color of this. Oh boy, sorry for that. Something got in my throat. Hopefully it's gone away. So you can change the colors, the transparency, and also the size, along with moving it up and down with this little button barely visible right here. So I personally like to select it to be right where the volume buttons are, so it just kind of makes it easy to locate based on the buttons, and then make it transparency high, and make the size a little bit smaller so it fits with the volume bar. And that's basically everything that I want. So now with the transparency being turned off, it's not showing up, but we have it set in an area that you can easily define where it is, and you can swipe it out. So it's just a little kind of thing that I tend to do. Additionally, by default it will only show you applications, but we have panels in here as well. There are several that come included with the device, and you also have more that you can download if you are signed in to, well, number one, internet, and number two, Google, or not Google, but Samsung account. You will have a Galaxy Store option right here, which you will be able to navigate there and buy additional panels. And I do mean buy, so they are not free for the most part. But still, you have several ones here that come pre-included, and you can just kind of swipe through them. Alright, I don't have internet connection, so that won't work, but there you go. Now, moving on back into the main settings page, we have also wallpaper and style. This is actually a pretty neat option, which let me just quickly connect to network right now, as I will need Wi-Fi connection for this to actually be, so I can actually show this. There we go. So let's go back here. So we can navigate to change wallpaper, and we have a couple obviously wallpapers that come with device, as it's custom to basically every phone that I can remember. But if you scroll down, you have create with AI, and so we have generative, and here you can select specific kind of wallpapers that you might like. You would kind of look for the vibe of a wallpaper. So for instance, night just tries to be more dark and moody, and when you click on it, you can choose the color. So let's just make it something like this. Then we have the option to change what it's generating. Mountains, I think, are pretty cool. I don't really see any other ones that would really look that great and in just a single color generation. So yeah, mountains I think will be probably the best option, and then mountains with, and you have clouds, flowers, waves, eyes, and so on. So you can choose whichever one you want. I'm gonna select Let's make eyes. Unfortunately, I need to be signed in because it's using Gemini. So once you have a Google account, you can actually generate it, and this does work pretty well. The wallpapers are actually pretty decent looking. Again, I connected to network for this, and yet I can't show it because I need to sign in. So you have several options to choose from. Now it is fairly limiting. So as an example, if you ever seen some kind of like wallpapers, very simplistic one, minimalistic, and you'd try to recreate it here, you won't be able to, as you are very limited to these specific terms. So for instance, we have terrain, translucent, night, luminous, and mineral. So all of those are categories of which we're generating. And then you also have some create something new. So you have imaginary, but again, not much here. So we have lamp, flower, and if you choose to pick one of those, there is not much. So as an example, one of the things that I wanted to create was a kind of like a warm tonish, orangish, reddish kind of circle, minimalistic with just shadow grading and stuff like that. And you can't do that. I cannot find anywhere where I could even pick a circle as an option. So obviously in this case it's kind of limited, as it's not gonna allow you to just go into like abstract or minimalistic kind of things that don't really represent anything. So another thing in here will be things like, for instance, I'm not sure if this will work, but I'm gonna check it out. So if I select this wallpaper, like done, this is, I think, already utilizing the feature. I might be incorrect, but we'll see. So let's lock the device, hold our finger now, and you can see we have a couple options right here. Now what I'm gonna be showing you is the frame option right here. And yeah, it's actually using it already. So I'm not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna start moving this. And you can see that the dog is just kind of separate from the little heart that it's in. I can change it to something else. And you can see that it is cutting out the animal a bit. Looks like it has a problem with certain things. See, this one is a bit finicky. This is done automatically, I also want to point out. So if you have other wallpapers, it will automatically try to cut out what it considers to be the main focal point of that wallpaper and do this to it. So it's a pretty nice option. And we also have option to get the gallery effects. And moving on to the lock screen, we can customize the lock screen by, for instance, changing the time. So we have fonts, sizes, colors, and then entire styles here to choose from. And you can add additional widgets. So maybe you want to add clock. Actually, we already have one, so that's probably not the best option. Let's see, weather. Yep, weather is good enough. There we go. I just added weather. Now I can move it around. I can resize them. Now this one doesn't really do much when resized, so let's just change it to something like this. Nope, this one doesn't do anything either. Pretty sure there was something that some of them that actually change, but in any case, you do have some customization options right here that you can fiddle around with. So there we go. This actually sums up all the tweaks and tricks that I want to show you. So if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.